Hey everybody, it's Jimmy and Bill. So today what we're going to talk about is HOA, and let me give you guys a little backstory. I've done so many inspections of people moving into HOAs, Homeowners Associations, and within 6 months or a year, what's happening is they're selling and they're buying another house. So the first 1 or 2 or 3 people, I'm like, all right, that's just a coincidence. But now, I'm like one after another, and I keep asking them, and they all tell me the same thing. The HOA, the homeowner association that they moved into, is a nightmare. Okay, because like one of them, I just got off the phone with them this morning, and they said to me, you know what? I'm paying a mortgage, I'm paying taxes, but I don't feel like I own the house. I can't do anything.
Right.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Do me a favor, if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It really, really helps out the channel. So let's talk about it. All right, Bill. So it's kind of true what the person was talking about. Think about it. You move into an association and they're so strict that, you know, you can't, if you put out your garbage cans a few hours early, or, you know, in the morning you don't bring them in on time,
right,
you'll get a letter. And some of these associations, I know them, and they are nightmares because, you know, some retired people that are in there, and that's great being retired, don't get me wrong, but they'll jump on their golf carts in the morning, and be like, okay, we're the HOA police.
But you have that. You're going to have that everywhere. So, like, just a silly story, but it happens, and I've had it happen to me as well, particularly with the garbage cans. It's what triggered it in my brain. You know, as many people probably know, I'm a retired firefighter, and we work 24-hour shifts. So when I was leaving for duty, I would put my trash can out when I left.
Okay.
And then I would take it back in the next day when I came home at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right, because you just physically weren't home.
I just physically wasn't home. And I used to get letter after letter and fines from the HOA, to the point where I finally had to call the HOA and the HOA's attorney and say, I'm on duty. What do you want me to do? You know, if it's such a big deal, maybe you should bring it in. That was kind of my, like, you're picking on me kind of thing. It was just, those are the kind of things that people don't take the time, unfortunately, sometimes, to maybe go find out what's going on with that person. You know, maybe there's a reason that garbage can, it's not always left out over day, you know, a whole day. It's just some days, you know. I find a lot of these problems and all the different stories that I've heard and, you know, we've talked about through HOAs, a lot of them can be resolved with just simple communication with people. Because remember, Homeowners Association, they're run by homeowners with a management company typically.
Yeah, but here's the deal too, okay? You know me, we just had to wash, we just had to clean my sidewalk because, you know, the HOA said it was a little dirty.
Right, but that's where I think the HOA is good.
Right, so, but at the same time, you know, some associations, they have cliques, and I don't care what anybody says.
It's true.
They have these cliques, and it's a bunch of people that are together, and they want to control everything. But if they break the rules, that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
But if you break the rules, it's not. You know, am I a fan of HOA? No, I'm not. But there's some benefits to HOAs.
Of course there are. You know, we could spout a lot of stories, you know, particularly even me, because I lived in an HOA that was really difficult. Like currently, I don't live at that property anymore, but the property that I'm at, where I live, my HOA is fantastic. They don't bother us. They keep up on everything. Yeah, if you don't like clean your stuff, they give us the little, hey, it's time to pressure wash your driveway or your sidewalk. But for the most part, I mean, they do well by keeping the neighborhood, and they're very, very reasonable. But conversely, they can be the opposite direction too.
Well, more and more people are saying, hey, you know what? I want to buy a house, but I don't want an HOA. And now it's actually a marketing benefit. So I see realtors, you know, put on their listings, no deed restrictions, no HOAs,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. So depending on the communities that you go into and where you're at, you know, there's not as many HOAs, and there's also different levels of HOAs. So for instance, there's a neighborhood in Clearwater. They have an HOA, but it's a voluntary HOA, and it's more just dealing with their entrance and some very, very minor
Like
basic rules.
my HOA.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, your HOA is very, very reasonable.
Yeah, I did get a letter about my F-250 because in the back it says my company
Yeah,
name.
no commercial vehicles and so
But,
on.
you know,
yeah.
so now I just back it in and everything.
And
you
that's
know?
just, sometimes that's people not understanding certain things. I mean, I got one when I had a take-home vehicle. It had lights on it, and I still got a letter. You know, sometimes people just don't understand the rules.
But like this other person, okay, what he did is he moved into a HOA. This was,
Yeah.
you know, and I talked about this in another video. And what he liked about the house, it had a really small koi pond in the front of the house, but against the house, and you could not see it from the street.
Right, which is
Not
probably,
even the sidewalk.
and it's probably a no-no on the HOA.
Right.
Yeah.
The person had it there and wasn't big at all. I saw
Mm-hmm.
it. It was like 3-4 years, okay? And a lot of people knew about the little koi pond.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kids would come by and give it some food because the guy was telling me. They bought the house. Within a week, they're like, hey, you're breaking our rules. There's, you know, you have a koi pond.
Like, dude, we just moved in here a week ago. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's what they said. They said, we moved here a week ago. And this was one of the selling benefits. And it seems like everybody knew about it because people would ask, are you going to keep the fish, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, but, you know, she was older and, you know, she's been there for a long time and everybody knew her, but, you know, we have to enforce the rules now.
Right, and that's the kind of stuff where, you know, HOAs, you know, you got to kind of look at it from both sides of the fence too, because now they just said, look, she was older, we kind of overlooked it, right? So same thing, garbage can leaving out, so on and so. Well, we overlooked it because he was a firefighter, you know, et cetera. There's always an exception to the rule, but, you know, the HOAs try to maintain that standard, so there is no, you know, discriminatory action or you're just singling me out kind of stuff. So those rules are there, but there's always an exception.
Yeah, well, okay.
So there should be an exception anyway, not necessarily always.
Here's another thing with, you know, some of these condo buildings, okay, the HOAs. And I'm noticing more and more buildings, condos are going up for sale.
Right.
And a lot of inspections I did for condos, their, you know, monthly fee, HOA fee was so much, and they didn't realize there was a special assessment coming up.
Yeah, that's
you know,
a big one.
Or it's doubling, or they're like, oh, we're gonna plant these 5 trees and we need $100,000, you know?
Exactly. You know, because they got enough to have a quorum at the meeting. You know, you stack it heavy with your buddies or what have you, and then they get everything passed. So without sending it, you know, and they send out the letter and all the stuff that they're required to do and they have to do. But you know, how many times do people actually read the letters all the time? And
Right.
you know, people people hope for that stuff. So, you know, kind of touching on the point with the condos and the fees going up. So because of all these additional unexpected requirements, I say unexpected loosely, they've known about it for years, but still it takes so long to save up the money from an HOA standpoint in a condo, you know, for the structural inspections that need to take place and the requirement to have a certain level of reserves for, you know, critical items is growing. And that's where a lot of these condos are having to do assessments because they need to build the infrastructure because they have to replace their fire pump or an elevator, you know, or there's, you know, some stress cracks and they need to, you know, patch those and epoxy those so that the rebar and the metal doesn't get exposed, you know, like if it's on the coast or what have you, and rust really bad and then, you know, cause issues with the structure itself.
Yeah, yeah. But let's go through St. Michael's Shrine. We never cut through. It's a great shrine over here, Greek shrine in Tarpon Springs. But here's another thing, okay? A lot of people don't feel like they own the place. It's more like, okay, they feel like they're a renter, you know, because it's so restrictive. Some HOAs are really restrictive. You don't think so?
No, I agree 100%. Some HOAs are extremely restrictive, but the renter part is kind of what I guess I don't have trouble swallowing. So when you're purchasing a property, you know, you're supposed to be supplied a copy of the deed restrictions, so on and so forth, right?
Right.
So that you read through them.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody follows the rules and that's what happens. However, how many people actually read through those rules?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it that we have them and they're supplied to you by your agent, but how many people actually take the time to read through all those rules? You know, I remember there was a story that happened of a house that sold in Trinity, Florida here, and they didn't read through the rules and restrictions, but their truck was too big.
Oh yeah, that was great. So let me give you guys this one. So, person buys the house, and he has an F-150. And the F1 and the driveway they make it so small, you know, like lengthwise, you know, that part of the driveway was over. I'm talking about. I saw it maybe 6 inches.
Right.
And he had to really pull into by his garage door by 2 inches.
Yeah.
So if you're off, you're gonna
Yeah. Oop, don't mess up.
So right away they're like, "You're breaking the rules. You're breaking the rules." But you can't park on the street.
Right.
You're only allowed to park in the driveway or inside. And he says, "But I can't fit inside." And you know, I'm 6 inches. You still use the sidewalk.
Right.
You know, and it's a pain in the neck. Every time I pull in, I got to make sure I'm within 2 inches of my garage door. We don't care. We don't care. And he's like, he pretty much told them, go screw off.
Yeah.
But he didn't realize how much power that the HOA has.
Oh, they have ridiculous amounts of power. Don't think they don't. In some cases, they got more power than the bank. They can fine you faster than the bank can for not paying your bills. It's insane. They can put a lien on your house like that. It's crazy. And those fines add up pretty quick. They're all in your covenants and restrictions that you need to read. And those kind of things are pretty standard, you know, across the board because there's state rules and stuff that pertain to the amount of fines and how much you can be fined. But it's important to read those rules for things just like, honestly, I don't even think I would have thought of that. And I've got a 150, you know, I wouldn't have put that together in my head.
Yeah, but who would have thought about that?
Yeah, like
even the condo one, the other guy, you know, he had a motorcycle.
And a motorcycle, yeah.
You know, and he loved his motorcycle, and they're like, yeah, you're not allowed to have motorcycles here.
Yeah, and it's like, and I have clients that I have to work with that have motorcycles, and they don't want to give up their motorcycles, but you can't bring the motorcycle to your house. So, you know, you just have to weigh those things, and you need to know those things before you buy.
And we could tell you guys horror stories after horror stories about HOAs. And if they're a basic HOA to make sure there's no broken down cars in the driveway, that's fine. There's, you know, no couches in there, and somebody doesn't paint the house pink or some crazy color. I get all that, and I agree with that, okay? But some people, you know, I just feel like some associations feel like they have like an enemies list. Let me give you an example about my association.
Okay.
Okay. So, my son broke a bracket on a mailbox. Okay. And, okay, so no problem. I'll put a new bracket on. It's a little support bracket. Okay. I had to buy it through the association's vendor.
It's the same way in my neighborhood, man.
And literally,
hey man, how's it going?
Literally, I thought it was going to be $10.
Yeah, no, it's probably like 125.
$300.
300. I thought mine were expensive.
And I'm like, all right, I'll go find this place. But they were smart, so they required everybody to put these, so all the mailboxes look
Yeah.
together. So this company, I don't know if they manufactured or just built one that they control, but I had to buy it from them, and it was literally just a support bracket,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and I was pretty annoyed at that. My point is with an HOA, if I'm going to buy a house in an HOA, I'm going to talk to a lot of people about that HOA.
Right.
I'm not going to just move in, because if people put so many restrictions that are crazy restrictions, like my vehicle's too long,
Yeah.
you know? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go there. And that's what's happening now. A lot of these, my past clients, they're done. They moved in.
Yeah.
They said, we can't do nothing. We can't hang a Christmas wreath outside.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like this other person, he had Christmas lights on.
You got to have them down by a certain date. January 7th, something. You got to have them down by a certain day.
Yeah, and they were away in Europe.
Yeah.
They came back, not only to
That's a very common one.
letters, fines, because they were snowbirds, so I guess
Right.
they were away, and they came back. And they were going to take him down,
Right.
but they just went away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that happens. That's a very common one too that you should pay attention to, because that's in a lot of deed restrictions. And the problem, what happens with this is, you're away. Like, let's say you even just took a vacation, right? Not necessarily even a snowbird. You're just on vacation, but you want to celebrate the holidays.
yeah,
You know, like the year I left, like December 18th, and we were gone for 4 weeks. But you left your lights up, or you didn't take them down before the holiday, whatever the case is, right? You get your letter, and then you don't respond to your letter because you're not there to get your letter.
right.
So now you're ignoring it. Then it goes to the board. They vote on things. Goes to the legal if they vote on that. So on and so forth. Now you're getting demand letters, and you're starting to get your fines, and they're adding up and adding up and adding up and adding up, and lawyer fees and all this other craziness. So at the end of the day, you're paying a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, and your association fee is going towards giving you a hard time.
You're paying to give yourself a hard time, and that's where people have heartburn, and myself included. That irritates me to no end. But what I don't like. What I don't like about certain associations is that people don't communicate with anybody. They don't have the common decency to pick up the phone and call your neighbor. Why is this so hard? I don't understand it. Everybody knows everybody's business, but they don't go to help each other. It just blows my mind.
Here's what blows my mind too, okay?
Jeez.
So I went to another association, I was doing an inspection,
Yep.
and I overheard people talking, because the person that runs that association, and, I'll call them cronies because they were laughing, in the office, they were talking about the salaries. And, they're like, oh yeah, one of them was making like, from what I understand, from somebody else told me, $130,000 a year.
Holy smokes. We're going this way today? Yeah, let's go this way today.
Yeah, we'll go this way. And 130 grand.
Uh-huh.
And the office is open like 4 hours a day. They live there, so they don't
Holy
have to travel.
smokes.
And
I'm changing careers.
But it was voted in.
Wow.
So here's the deal. If you want to fight the HOAs,
Good
go
luck.
to the meetings. Okay? If there's a group out there that's controlling the HOA, create your own group and go to the meeting and take over. When it's time to vote.
Right. The big thing is, if you're going to live in an HOA, that doesn't mean you go to every meeting and all these things, but at least pay attention to what's going on. They do post these things on their, internal forums typically. Even if you're not like super friendly with all your neighbors and all that good stuff, but you just pay attention to what's going on in the HOA. You don't want those things that could potentially cost you a lot of money slip by because just people aren't involved.
Right.
That's the thing. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be a big ordeal. Just pay attention to what's going on. Grab the meeting minutes and skim them over real quick.
Right. Just do that and just go and vote. And even before you buy,
Read the rules and regulations that are sent to you. That's so important.
And last thing before we let you go, make sure there's no special assessment coming up. You know.
Yeah, definitely ask. So you can email your real estate professional will email the association and ask if there's anything that's upcoming assessments or any assessments that they've tabled over the last year. Because they can table an assessment and they haven't voted on it yet, so there's no upcoming assessment. But there could be one that they just postponed, which is what tabling is, and then it's gonna go to the next year. So just keep that in mind, you know, to ask that question.
Be careful.
Yep.
Be careful when you're going into an HOA. Don't be like some of these clients that lasted 6 months because of the HOA.
Right.
Anyways, that's today's video. Greatly appreciate it. Do me a favor, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and share the video. It really helps out. And we'll talk to you in the next one.
Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Bye.